I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture. I like to combine theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. It's been a short but sweet visit to Chile, focusing on exploring the Chilean capital of Santiago and riding different roller coasters in the area. The final stop in Chile would be to the nation's largest amusement park, Fantasilandia. We'll take a look at the offerings of this park, including some of the more unique rides they have, along with their coaster collection. I'm about to take a walk to the north end of Paque O'Higgins because that is the location of the last amusement park to visit here in Chile for this trip, and that is Fantasilandia, the biggest amusement park in the entire country of Chile. Paque O'Higgins is the second largest public park in Santiago, named after one of the nation's founding fathers, Bernardo O'Higgins. With its various recreational activities and blend of wooded and open areas, this park is very popular on the weekends, as well as for special events and festivals. One of the most popular times to come here is during the September 18th national holiday that commemorates the proclamation of the first governing body of 1810, which started Chile's independence process. The park also hosted the beatification ceremony of Saint Teresa of Los Andes, led by Pope John Paul II during his 1987 visit to Chile. In the northwest corner of Paque O'Higgins is the reason for today's visit, the largest amusement park of Chile, Fantasilandia. While it's more of a traditional amusement park than a theme park, they have some nice architecture inside and some really neat touches, such as this food stand that utilizes an old school bus that was converted into a small dining space. One of the other neat touches of the park is the way they share all of the different types of trees and plants that can be found throughout, with signage to tell you the kind that it is and where it originally comes from. You'll find trees and plants from nearly all parts of the world, including Africa, Asia, Australia, and Europe, as well as those native to Chile. This park has one of the best overall ride selections out of all the parks visited during my time in South America. They offer an excellent variety from smaller and easier going rides for the younger crowd and those wanting a more tame experience, to the taller rides that offer an excellent view of the surrounding area, and more extreme rides for thrill seekers. Much like several prior South American stops, there was a Tagada. They also have several water rides for the sake of cooling off on a warm summer day. Mixed in their ride selection were some unique variations I had not seen before, such as a version of an Enterprise-style ride where you lay on your stomach in a flying position. While it was different, I have to admit, I wasn't a huge fan. It's a neat concept of a ride, but the cars that you sit in, or lay in I should say, just make it really uncomfortable. Your knees are in a weird spot. Your arms are awkwardly angled. It's almost like it's more Volare than it is Enterprise. And so the discomfort kind of takes away from what could be a neat ride experience. On top of that, you really got to kind of force to keep your head upright in order to be able to really see anything. Otherwise, you're just facing straight down, as was the case for me. It wasn't the most pleasant thing in the world. Another standout attraction was their Hus breakdance style ride. This variant had a trick up its sleeve as the vehicles were attached to arms that would tilt upward to change the angle as you spun around. The park is also worthy of praise for its operations, as while their lines were physically some of the longest on the whole trip, they went fairly quickly because of the efficiency they had thanks to the use of multiple trains when possible and the quickness of their dispatches. The staff of Fantasilandia put several larger American parks to shame for how quickly they could dispatch their rides. This was especially nice when riding their coasters, starting with Raptor, their Vekoma SLC. With its location near one of the park's 2 entrance gates, and being the biggest coaster in the park, it draws a line quickly after opening. But thanks to their efficient operation with both trains going, the wait wasn't very long. While this shares the name with Cedar Point's famous B&M inverted coaster, this one is just the standard SLC layout with the original style trains. This combination would usually lead to a painfully rough ride, but that wasn't necessarily the case here.
You know, it's one thing I'll never understand about Vekoma SLCs. It always seems like anytime I ride them in other countries, with a few exceptions, they tend to be a lot smoother than the ones in the United States. This one may not have been the smoothest of smoothest, but it was certainly an improvement over the ones that you'll find in the US.
The second coaster of the day was Wild Mouse, a Zamperla twister coaster that offers a fairly standard layout for this style of spinning mouse ride. As with many of these, the amount of spinning you get seems to depend on the weight distribution, as there were some that had very little spinning and others that spun very well. I was really happy to catch the day's third coaster, as it was removed from a park I had previously visited before I had a chance to go there. Tren Minero, a Vekoma mine train, was the former Diamond Devil Run at South Africa's Ratanga Junction until it was removed in 2014 and opening here the following year. The coaster itself was a nice surprise, as it offered some fun pops of airtime through its course, and it really interacts with some of the park's pathways as well. Those who aren't fans of the other kinds of coasters in this park may find this one to be their favorite.
You know, I have to admit, I love that I was able to get this coaster, considering that it had been closed from Ratanga Junction in South Africa before I had a chance to go there back in 2018. And so to get the opportunity to ride it here is like a little bit of a redemption. So it's really cool to get a chance to do that. Not to mention that this hat came from Cape Town in South Africa as well. So it's almost like a reunification of the homeland for the coaster and the hat.
The fourth coaster of the day was a Vekoma Boomerang with the incredibly unique name of Boomerang. While some folks don't care for these because of the roughness they tend to have, Fantasilandia's version took care of that when they replaced the old train with one of the newer style Vekoma trains that have appeared on a few of their coasters more recently, which greatly improves the experience of the ride. This was the coaster that really blew me away with their operations, as they seem to be dispatching their train in under a minute each time, whereas some parks would take between 2 and 5 minutes between cycles.
improvements that a park can do to their Boomerang coaster using these newer style trains. It makes the ride a lot better. And I'm really glad this park did it because it made the ride a lot of fun.
The final coaster ridden was in the Kids Zone section of the park, and that was a Zamperla-powered coaster, Montaña Dragon. Considering all the shameless coasters ridden on this trip, it seemed fitting that this would be the last new one for the day. After getting that last coaster credit, the rest of the day was spent enjoying some re-rides and the flat rides shared earlier before it was time to continue on.
So this was easily one of the best parks in South America. I love the way that they had the variety of rides here. The park was also incredibly efficient in the operation of their rides. There was hardly any wait for most of the rides throughout the day. I think the longest I waited may have been about 15-20 minutes or so. It was a great day. Glad to have gotten all 5 of the coasters here. And with that, it's time to head back to the airport to get ready to go to Buenos Aires and the next part of this trip into Argentina.
Thanks to Fantasilandia's location, there was a subway station right outside of the larger Paque O'Higgins that made it easy to ride over to the tour bus depot so that I could catch a ride back to the airport. And with that, my visit to Chile for this South American excursion was finished. While it was a short visit, there were some great stops along the way. From the highest observation deck of South America and watching the performances of locals, to the small amusement parks and carnivals outside of town, and wrapping it up with the nation's premier amusement park. This was far from enough time to truly enjoy Chile, but it gives me plenty of reason to return for a future visit to see more of this incredible place while coasting with culture. Thank you for watching this Coasting with Culture video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button below to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.